Productivity has now added remote I/O integration of the GS4 variable frequency drives into the PLC line. This allows streamlining of the connection between the PLC and the drive and makes controlling the drive part of your PLC project. To start remote I/O integration of the drive, you must have installed the Modbus TCP Communication Option Card. When you install this card, you will need to update the firmware on the GS4 drive and also on the Modbus TCP Communication Card. Once you have that complete, power up the drive, and let's verify that the Modbus TCP Comm Card is available on the drive. Go to parameter P9.44, and it should read 4 for the Modbus TCP Comm module. Next, we need to set up the IP address of the drive. The limiting factor on the IP address is the last octet, and that has to be between 1 and 99 and be unique of any other device on this network. Now we need to write this IP address to the COM module by going to parameter P9.64 and setting that to 2. Now we need to set up the drive so that it can be controlled via the COM card. There are 2 parameters that are involved in this, P3.00 and P4.00. P3.00 is about controlling the drive's run-stop circuit, and P4.00 is about controlling the speed. Now, when you go into P3.00, you'll need to select either option 5 or 6, and this depends upon if you want the keypad stop enabled or not. Now, I want the keypad stop enabled for my project, so I'm going to select 5. For P4.00, you'll need to select 4. Now, let's verify their steps here before we continue. We installed the Modbus TCP Comm module. We updated the firmware to the drive. We updated the firmware on the COM module. We entered in the IP address for the COM module. We wrote the IP address into the COM module, and then we configured the drive to be controlled through the COM module. Now that completes the drive setup, so let's move on to the productivity setup. You must have at least programming software version 3.4 or higher and have loaded a 3.4 or higher project to your CPU. Then update the firmware on your CPU to the latest version. Connect the GS4 to the remote network port on the Productivity. Now to begin the discovery of the GS4 into the Productivity, go into your hardware configuration, select the GS Drives tab. Now you can add this drive manually, or you can select to add it automatically. I will demonstrate the automatic way. With your Productivity CPU in stop, select this button up here. This will begin the Remote I/O auto discovery process, which should take about 30 seconds or so. Once complete, you should see a message like this indicating that the drive was found and give you the drive number. Notice that the drive number is equal to the last octet of the drive's IP address. Select Yes, and now you will see your drive listed here. Now that you have your drive set up to be a Remote I/O slave, you can select it and see all the drive parameters. Now this drive configuration becomes part of your PLC project now. And if you go into Tools and then Options, and then make sure this option is checked, now when you transfer your project to your PLCs, the GS drive configuration is also transferred to the drives that you have set up here. That completes the hardware configuration. Now let's transfer this project to the CPU. To control the drive, there's 2 instructions. There is the GS write instruction and the GS read instruction. Let's start with the GS write instruction. This instruction can be broken down to 3 main parts: communication and status flags, auto write section, and manual write section. Now this part I will handle by creating a structure. And as you can see, when I create this structure, it also creates tags for the run and jog frequency in the auto write portion. Also in this auto write portion, you can select which drive you're controlling and how fast the drive is being written to. This down here is the manual write portion. Now there's two parts here. There's the run mode and the stop mode. There's some parameters that can be changed while the drive is in run, and there's some that can only be changed while the drive is in stop. If we look at this instruction, you will see that there's 4 input rungs. If this rung is enabled, it will place the drive into run and set the frequency of the drive to the value of this tag. If this rung is enabled and the run rung is not enabled, then the drive will be placed into jog mode at the frequency of this tag. These 2 rungs handle how the run mode data and the stop mode data is updated. Notice that both of them have these arrows, which indicate that you need an off to on transition for them to update. If we look back in the instruction, all the parameters are separated into categories. If you need to write to any of these, you'll need to place a tag for that parameter. For this example, I'm going to put a tag to control the direction of the drive and to reset any faults that may occur. To finalize the instruction, select OK, and then you'll be asked to complete the creation of the tags for this structure. Now I'm going to create some enable bits for each of the input rungs. Now that we have that set up, let's write this to the drive and test our drive for the first time. To just run the drive, you will only need the GSWrite instruction. Right-click on the rung and select the Create a Data View tab. Open up Data View and then select that tab. I will place the drive in run by enabling this bit and then give the drive a run frequency. My drive ran up to the frequency just fine, and I have no errors in the communication flags. The GSRead instruction pretty much works the same way. There are communication flags, the auto read portion, and then the manual read portion. Like with the GSWrite instruction, the manual read will require an off-to-on transition for these values to update in the drive. If you have any questions on this or any other features, please feel free to comment below or call into our award-winning tech support team. Click here to see more videos on the productivity line, and click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming products and solutions.